There's a version of you that already lives the life you keep visualizing. The peace, the flow, the ease. It's not some far-off fantasy. It's a frequency already humming in the field. The reason you can feel it so vividly is because you're brushing against it, but not yet in tune. Every morning you wake up with the same thoughts running through your mind, the same internal chatter, the same sense of trying to fix something inside you before life can begin. You listen to a meditation, write affirmations, maybe even try to stay positive, but by mid-morning, you're back inside the loop, reacting, doubting, waiting. It feels like your body is living one timeline while your mind keeps staring at another. Here's the quiet truth. Manifestation doesn't happen in your thoughts. It happens in your state of being, the electromagnetic broadcast your body is constantly sending. You're not calling in a future. You're tuning into one. Like a radio dial, your consciousness shifts through frequencies, and each frequency carries a version of reality that feels completely solid once you lock onto it. So the real question isn't, how do I get there? It's, how do I tune to the version of me that's already there? And that's what this 7-day, 10-minute practice is built to do. To shift the station of your identity, one day at a time, from effort to embodiment. Because when you stop trying to reach your next self and instead become the signal of that self, reality stops arguing. It aligns, fast. And it starts with something much simpler than most people realize. Not thinking different, but observing differently. That's where the field begins to bend. Everything you experience, the coincidences, the people who show up, the timing of events, is being shaped by one single mechanism, the observer effect. Quantum physics showed us that reality doesn't exist as a fixed thing out there. It's a wave of probabilities that collapses into a definite form the moment it's observed. But here's what most people miss: the quality of your observation. The emotional frequency behind how you look at life determines which version of reality you collapse into. You're not just observing neutrally. You're broadcasting coherence or chaos with every glance, every thought, every breath. Think of your body as a radio transmitter. Your mind selects the channel, the thought, but your nervous system is the actual antenna that sends the signal into the field. If you're trying to manifest abundance while your body is pulsing in scarcity and tension, you're transmitting static. The signal doesn't match the channel. That's why you can visualize perfectly and still not see results. Because the universe doesn't respond to imagination alone. It mirrors the embodied frequency you're holding. The 7-day activation isn't about forcing belief. It's about teaching your nervous system to feel safe at higher frequencies, to relax into a new identity until it becomes your baseline. 10 minutes a day is enough because energy shifts through coherence, not effort. You'll start by learning how to observe yourself without resistance, to feel what's happening in your body when you think of your desire. Most people don't realize how much contraction sits underneath their wanting. That contraction keeps tuning them to not yet. So we begin with the observer, not to control, but to tune. To watch without judgment until your body begins to follow the observation. Because the moment your attention becomes calm and consistent, the field organizes around it. And that's where the first true shift happens. Not when you try harder, but when you stop fracturing your signal. But there's one myth that keeps almost everyone stuck right before that moment. And that's what we need to dismantle next. The biggest misunderstanding in manifestation is that belief creates reality. It sounds poetic, but it's not how the field actually moves. Belief is just the afterglow of embodiment, the mind's story that follows what the body has already decided to be true. Here's what that means. You don't start by trying to convince your mind. You start by showing your nervous system that the new timeline is safe to inhabit. When your body accepts it, your belief becomes effortless. Let me show you how this plays out. Imagine someone named Maya. She's been waiting for a message, that text from a person she really cares about. Every time she checks her phone, her stomach tightens. Hours pass, and the silence feels louder. She starts rehearsing stories. Maybe they lost interest. Maybe I said too much. Her mind spirals, but what's actually happening is her body has tuned to a frequency of rejection. She's broadcasting separation, even while she's hoping for connection. In quantum terms, she's observing absence with emotional charge, and that charge collapses reality around that version of the timeline, the one where the message doesn't come. The turning point isn't when she finally receives the text. It's when she shifts her broadcast. She takes a breath, feels the tension, and instead of trying to escape it, she observes it. Steady, kind, curious. Her system begins to soften. That softness is coherence. The moment her body stops fighting what is, she becomes receptive. That's when the timeline with connection becomes accessible again. And often, without effort, that's when the phone lights up. This is not magic. It's physics expressed through biology. When your energy field stops emitting contradiction, life responds with symmetry. The myth says, you have to believe to receive. The truth is subtler. You receive when your body stops defending against what you desire. And this is where the 10-minute daily practice begins its deeper work. For 7 days, you're not training yourself to think differently. You're training your system to feel differently about what's possible. Because when your inner world stops arguing with your future, your outer world has no choice but to reorganize. But before we can build coherence, we have to understand what blocks it. And it always begins in one place, your nervous system. Your nervous system is the gatekeeper of every manifestation. It decides whether your new reality feels like home or like danger. And here's the part most people miss. Your body doesn't care if something is good for you. It only cares if it's familiar. That's why even when you visualize abundance, love, or freedom, your body can quietly reject it. Not because you don't deserve it, but because it doesn't recognize that frequency as safe. If your cells are used to the chemistry of stress, calm will feel unnatural. If your subconscious is wired for effort and survival, ease will feel suspicious. So before we can tune your field to a higher timeline, we have to teach your body that safety and expansion can coexist. Because coherence, the alignment between heart, brain, and breath, is what sends a clean signal to the field. Without it, the transmission is scattered. Let's do this right now. Close your eyes if you can. Take a slow breath in through the nose for 4 counts. Hold for 2. Then exhale through the mouth for 6 counts. Do that 3 times. Now, bring to mind the version of you from this practice. The new you we're activating over these 7 days. Notice where in your body you feel resistance. Maybe it's a heaviness in the chest, a clench in the jaw, a flutter in the belly. Don't try to relax it. Just observe it like light touching water. As you breathe, imagine your awareness moving into that area, not to fix it, but to befriend it. Each exhale tells your body, you are safe to expand. With every breath, the signal grows steadier. Your heart rate slows, your mind quiets, and the two begin to pulse together. A rhythmic coherence. In that state, you're no longer reacting to the external world. You're broadcasting to it. Your body becomes a tuning fork for the frequency you choose. This is where change starts to lock in. Because reality doesn't shift when you demand it to. It shifts when your biology agrees with your vision. That's when the field stops echoing your fear and begins to reflect your readiness. Now that you've felt coherence, the next step is to take it deeper. To understand how this calm isn't just a momentary state, but the foundation of an entirely new identity. A state is temporary. An identity is a broadcast. You can meditate yourself into calm for 10 minutes, but if your underlying identity is still wired to, I'm trying to change, the moment life tests you, the old frequency rushes back. That's why so many people feel they lose their alignment, because they were visiting it, not living it. The field doesn't mirror what you occasionally feel. It mirrors what you consistently embody. So the real leap happens not when you achieve a new state, but when that state becomes who you are without effort. Think of it like this. When a singer hits a note, they can force it for a moment, or they can resonate from the body so deeply that the tone carries effortlessly. Manifestation is resonance, not strain. Identity isn't something you think. It's the automatic emotional signature you emit. It's the background vibration that hums even when you're not paying attention. If that vibration says, I'm trying to be abundant, the field reads, lack. But when it says, abundance is where I breathe from, everything rearranges to match. The 10-minute practice each day is designed to reprogram that signature. Every repetition teaches your nervous system a new baseline. Not excitement, not effort, but familiarity with a higher frequency. You begin to recognize the vibration of the new you as home. There's a quiet turning point that happens around day 3 or 4. You'll catch yourself reacting differently to the same triggers. Where you once tightened, you'll pause. Where you once chased, you'll breathe. And that pause, that tiny gap, is where identity rewires itself. You're no longer acting as the person who's waiting for reality to prove something. You're being the one who already knows. That's what it means to stop trying to align and start transmitting as alignment itself. Because in the quantum field, timelines organize around identity. The you that already lives your desire exists right now on a neighboring frequency, waiting for you to tune in. And when you shift identities, The universe doesn't need time. It needs permission. Here's the wild part. You're not moving toward your future. You're moving between timelines. Each identity you inhabit carries its own version of reality, its own sequence of events, synchronicities, and emotional atmosphere. You don't attract a new life. You tune into the one that already matches your signal. Picture reality as a spectrum of radio stations, each broadcasting a complete version of your story. One station plays the frequency of doubt, the version of you who tries hard, overthinks, and waits. Another hums with confidence, the version who flows, decides, and receives. Both exist simultaneously, right here. The dial is your identity. Every time you emotionally rehearse a new version of yourself, not just imagine it, but feel its tone in your body, you slide the dial a little closer to that timeline. You start aligning with the patterns, people, and opportunities that already belong to that frequency. Let's bring this down to earth. Scenario 2. Daniel, a young entrepreneur. He's been stuck in cycles of just enough. Enough clients to survive, never enough to relax. He's doing affirmations, pushing harder, staying high vibe, but something in his field keeps pulling him back. One morning, instead of forcing productivity, he tries something different. He remembers the coherence breath and imagines tuning to a new station, the version of him who already runs his business with ease. He feels what that Daniel would feel before seeing results. Calm, grounded, decisive. Within minutes, his body relaxes. A few hours later, a collaboration email arrives. Not random, but resonant. That's the field responding to identity. Timelines don't shift because you begged the universe. They shift because your energy stopped matching the version of struggle. The field mirrors whatever you stabilize. When you realize this, the process becomes simple. The new you isn't built, it's remembered. You start broadcasting from the frequency of the reality you choose, and the field has no option but to reorganize. From this point on, our work isn't about visualizing anymore. It's about rehearsal, not mental rehearsal, but embodied tuning. Practicing the signal of your chosen self until it becomes the default. And that's what we'll build next. A toolkit to anchor the new broadcast so deeply that your body won't know how to return to the old one. Rehearsal isn't pretending, it's stabilization. When you rehearse a new frequency, you're training your body to remember who you are becoming, until it stops being practice and starts being presence. Let's build your toolkit for this. 3 pieces: simple, powerful, and enough to activate the shift within minutes. Tool 1. Bridge statements. Most people affirm what they don't yet believe, which creates tension in the field. I am wealthy. When your nervous system feels lack, just produces static. A bridge statement dissolves that static. It connects where you are to where you're going without creating an internal fight. For example, instead of I am abundant, try I'm beginning to recognize how safety feels in abundance. Instead of I am loved, try my body is learning what it feels like to be easy in connection. Bridge statements are micro-tunings. They tell your subconscious, we're already moving toward this frequency. It's safe to go there. Tool 2. Somatic anchors. Your body needs a physical way to mark the shift. Choose one gesture, maybe placing a hand on your chest or lightly touching your wrist, and pair it with a breath. When you do this during your 10-minute practice, you're encoding that gesture with the state of coherence. Over time, just doing it becomes enough to retune your field no matter where you are. It's a way of carrying the practice into daily life without even closing your eyes. Tool 3. Quantum rehearsal. Once you're coherent and anchored, imagine yourself in a real scene from your desired timeline, but not as a movie you're watching. Step into it. Feel your body moving in that reality. What's the posture, the tone, the pace of your breath? Feel the texture of that timeline in your muscles. Then open your eyes without breaking the feeling. This is how you bridge timelines, by not snapping back to the old frequency when you return to the moment. Rehearsal isn't about intensity. It's about consistency. 10 minutes a day of calm coherence outperforms hours of forced affirmations because energy aligns through repetition, not pressure. And here's something to reflect on. Have you noticed that the moment you stop gripping, what you wanted finally shows up? Tell me your story in the comments. It might unlock someone else's leap. Now, once the tools are alive in you, obstacles will start showing themselves, not as failures, but as tests of coherence. And that's exactly what we'll decode next. Every identity upgrade stirs resistance, not because you're doing it wrong, but because your old vibration is trying to hold on to what it knows. The field will mirror these tremors as obstacles, and if you know how to read them, they become doorways instead of detours. There are three main traps that fragment your signal: urgency, split intention, and over-control. Urgency is the frequency of not yet. It's the hidden belief that you're racing time. Whenever you feel like something must happen now, your body tightens, and that contraction collapses your timeline to the version where you're still waiting. Urgency is the clearest sign that your nervous system doesn't yet feel safe in the new frequency. The antidote is sufficiency. Practice this line. Nothing is missing in this moment. Whisper it until your chest softens. Urgency dissolves when your body feels complete, even before the evidence arrives. Split intention is wanting two conflicting realities at once. You say you want expansion, but part of you fears losing control. You call in love, but another part resists vulnerability. These micro-conflicts send mixed signals into the field, and mixed signals create static timelines. When you feel that tug of war, pause and name both parts out loud. One part of me wants to grow, another part wants safety. Then ask, can both be true right now? That question alone creates coherence. The field organizes around wholeness, not perfection. Over-control is the hardest one to see because it disguises itself as discipline or alignment. But trying to force the universe is like gripping the radio dial and demanding it play your song faster. The frequency won't change until your hands relax. Control is born from mistrust. Surrender is born from coherence. The moment you stop managing outcomes, the signal clears, and synchronicity returns. Here's what happens when you transcend these traps. Your manifestation process shifts from performance to presence. You stop rehearsing your future as something to reach and start experiencing it as something that's unfolding now. That's the real threshold, when doing less begins creating more. And from here, we step into everyday life, where these principles aren't just theory, because coherence isn't meant for meditation cushions. It's meant for how you walk, eat, speak, and exist. What if every ordinary moment is the real stage where your new timeline proves itself? The new frequency only becomes real when you can live it with your eyes open. Meditation builds the station. Daily life keeps it tuned. Because the field doesn't test your alignment in silence. It tests it while you're walking through the grocery store, checking your phone, or having that awkward conversation you wish you could skip. Integration means broadcasting coherence mid-motion. Let's explore how that feels. Imagine waking up tomorrow and moving through your morning as if you were already the version of yourself from day 7, the one whose energy is settled, magnetic, and unbothered. You brush your teeth slower. You breathe deeper. You notice you're not rushing to fix anything. The quiet feels different. It's not empty. It's alive. That's coherence expressing through action. When you walk, match your breath to your steps. 4 beats in, 4 beats out. Let your attention rest in the rhythm of movement. That's your field stabilizing in motion. When you eat, taste fully. Let gratitude rise before thought. Each bite becomes a moment of energetic agreement. I am safe in receiving. In conversations, especially challenging ones, coherence means staying inside your body. Instead of reacting to another's tone, feel your feet on the floor, your heartbeat steady. Remember, whoever loses coherence first loses influence in the field. Presence wins, not words. This is how manifestation turns into embodiment. The universe doesn't need you to be perfect. It just needs you to stay tuned long enough for the new signal to dominate. Every micro moment of coherence strengthens your transmission. Every pause before reacting rewires your timeline a little deeper. And something subtle starts to happen. You stop asking, is it working? And realize that question no longer makes sense. Because you're not doing manifestation, you're being the frequency that generates the result. The feedback loop closes. That's the hidden design of this 7-day process, to make manifestation indistinguishable from living. And yet, once that stability takes hold, something else awakens, a deeper expansion that moves beyond personal goals. The field starts asking a new question. Now that you're coherent, what will you create for the whole? Once your field stabilizes, life doesn't just improve, it reorganizes. Coherence ripples outward like sound through air, touching everything connected to you. Relationships shift, opportunities rearrange, even your physical health begins to echo the new signal. Because when your frequency upgrades, the universe doesn't just mirror it, it harmonizes with it. Let's make it tangible. Scenario 3. Ava, an artist. For months she's been stuck, staring at blank canvases, convinced her creativity's gone. She tries to push through it, forces herself to paint, but every stroke feels heavy. One morning she remembers the 10-minute practice. She breathes, tunes in, and notices her body vibrating in frustration. tight shoulders, clenched jaw. Instead of trying to escape the block, she observes it until her breath steadies. A warmth rises in her chest, the frequency of safety returning. Then something quiet happens. She doesn't try to create. She feels pulled to move color again. Within an hour, flow returns. Not because she fixed her art, but because she shifted the signal behind it. Creativity wasn't gone. Her access was jammed by incoherence. Once her body aligned, inspiration reconnected. That same ripple happens in every area. In relationships, your coherence dissolves old dynamics. People who once mirrored your insecurity start reflecting your calm. In money, opportunities that used to feel out of reach become normal. In health, your cells follow your field. Healing accelerates because the chemistry of stress begins to fade. Coherence isn't just personal, it's contagious. The electromagnetic field of the heart extends meters beyond the body, influencing others through resonance. When you stabilize in peace, you quietly give permission for everyone around you to do the same. You stop trying to change people because your frequency already speaks louder than advice ever could. This is where manifestation evolves into creation. You're no longer chasing results. You're composing realities. The new you isn't performing a technique. You're conducting an orchestra of vibration. And when that awareness deepens, you start sensing something beyond personal will, a larger intelligence moving through your coherence, a subtle guidance that feels like love wearing logic's clothes. That's where we go next, to the deepest layer of this work, the space where surrender stops being weakness and becomes your highest form of participation. When you finally reach coherence, something paradoxical happens. You stop trying to manifest altogether. Because the you that wanted to control outcomes dissolves into something far more expansive. What takes its place isn't passivity, it's partnership. You start feeling reality as a living intelligence, responsive and creative, co-shaping with you moment by moment. At first, this feels disorienting. You notice synchronicities aligning faster than logic allows. People appear at impossible timings. You think of someone and they call. You release a goal, and it manifests without effort. It's tempting to call it magic, but it's not. It's resonance, your field syncing with the deeper rhythm of the universe. The more coherent you become, the more you sense that consciousness isn't just in you. You are swimming inside it. The observer and the observed stop being separate. It's like realizing the mirror you've been polishing was never just reflecting your image. It was showing you the infinite intelligence behind every reflection. This is where surrender becomes strength. Because to surrender is not to give up control, it's to remember you were never separate from the process in the first place. When you stop resisting what's unfolding, the field can express its intelligence through you. Inspiration, timing, guidance, they stop being things you seek and become your natural mode of navigation. And this is why identity work was never about building a better persona. It was about removing the static that blocked this connection. When the mind quiets and the nervous system trusts, your signal harmonizes with something larger, the pulse of creation itself. In that space, prayer and intention merge. You don't have to ask anymore. You simply listen. Every breath becomes communication. Every intuition, an instruction. You feel moved, not driven. That's the essence of quantum manifestation. Not the power to bend reality to your will, but the humility to let reality express its highest version through you. And that's when everything changes. Because the new you isn't a new personality. It's consciousness remembering itself through your human form. Now we arrive at the final piece, the resolution. The moment where the entire field clicks into place and you see that all this time you weren't chasing transformation, you were tuning home. If you could step outside of time right now and look at your life from the field's perspective, you'd see it. The shimmer of infinite versions of you, all existing in parallel, each humming at its own frequency. The one you've been calling the new you isn't waiting to be built. It's been broadcasting all along, like a station just slightly out of range, whispering, "I'm already here. Tune in." And you did. Every breath, every moment of coherence, every time you chose stillness over urgency, you moved the dial closer. The static faded. The signal cleared. Until one day, maybe today, it no longer felt like practice. It just felt like truth. That's the moment the mirror turns clear. The world around you begins to echo what your body finally believes. You meet ease where there used to be effort. You find connection where there used to be longing. You act, not to make something happen, but because you are something happening. Remember, your new reality doesn't appear through force. It arrives through frequency. You didn't chase it. You became the version of yourself who could hold it, and in doing so, you proved the quiet law of the quantum field that the universe is never withholding, it's only waiting for coherence. So, as you close this 7-day cycle, breathe once more with intention. Feel your heartbeat, the pulse of a field that's listening. The new you isn't ahead, it's now. And maybe pause here with me for a second. Have you felt it? That instant when what you were waiting for stopped being outside of you? Tell me your story in the comments. It might unlock someone else's leap into their own timeline. Because this calm, tuned, embodied you is the signal the world's been waiting for. The mirror is clear. Keep it steady. Keep it alive.